Does everything happen for a reason, or does it not? Is that true? What do you think about that? That's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. Are we deterministic in our life? Is our future already laid out for us and we're just playing the part? Or do we have the choice? I'm John from BulldogMindset.com. On this channel, I teach you how to be a man, how to build the physique you want, how to build financial independence for yourself, get the girls you want, and go from the victim mindset to what I call the Bulldog mindset. If that sounds like you, join us. Click the subscribe button, become a Bulldog, and join us on the mission. Hey, John. I noticed you frequently use the phrase, everything happens for a reason. I want to clarify if you're advocating for determinism by using this phrase. I hear a lot of fake woke people use the phrase as a way to avoid taking personal responsibility and taking action in the present time, since everything happens for a reason, so why bother putting 110% effort in? I believe when you say the phrase, you basically mean that everything happens because of a reason, as in determinism is alive and well, and that when you experience a failure, you either lack knowledge or discipline, like you often say. I think this would be a very enticing question to clarify for as a video, as I'm sure some people get confused with the statement. What this comes down to is the whole classic biblical argument, right? In the New Testament, where I forget exactly where it happens, but basically this idea that if God's grace abounds more, then why not sin all the more? Why not we just live in sin if we're just forgiven for everything that we've done? Okay, this is kind of a classical theological argument, right? So you could say the same thing, right? If everything happens for a reason, then what does it matter if we do anything? Like, it's all happening for a reason. It's all predetermined, right? This is that question of free will versus determinism. I think that that you're closer to the truth where you said that everything happens because of a reason. All right, but and I do have a mystical thought about it as well, which I'm going to talk about in a minute here. But before we get into that, let's take the premise and say that things are determined to be that way, or that grace abounds to 100%, and so why not sin all the more? The reason why, just because if everything happens for a reason, or there's infinite grace, that we wouldn't go on sinning, okay, is because it will not overall make us happy. The problem with not trying, not putting in the effort, has nothing to do with whether it's preordained or not. It has everything to do, like the reason why we don't, quote, sin, and I'm using sin in a very liberal sense of the word, okay? I'm just using that as to err, like the original definition of it. The reason why we don't do things that are bad, okay, essentially, is because they won't make us happy overall, right? The reason why it's bad to sin for us, if we're forgiven to the nth degree, has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with not the consequences, right? But the personal consequences of those actions overall to ourselves and our character. When we do things, when we're lazy, for instance, right? And to paint a picture with this example, when we're lazy, we could say that everything happens for a reason and we can be lazy, and that's fine. And that's a total fine justification if you believe that to be true. But inside ourselves, in our hearts, in our soul, we feel inadequate. We feel it doesn't make us feel good. It makes us feel like a piece of shit, right? Do you feel like a piece of shit when you're lazy, right? Yeah. Does it matter if you're justified to be lazy, right? And again, I can give you this example from real experience because I've got millions of dollars, all right? I'm not going to fucking lie. I've talked about this before. I retired young. I retired, 5-6 years ago where I didn't have to work anymore. I've got plenty of assets. I can have income, passive income coming in for the rest of my life, and it will only continue to grow, okay? And when I first reached this stage of success, all right, I sat on the beach, all right? I thought I was just going to chill for a while, dude, okay? And what I found was I was very unhappy. I was very unhappy with doing that. Even if you're totally justified to being lazy, to not doing anything, which in that you could say that I am, right? I don't have to work. I don't have to make these videos. I like a lot of people, you guys, some of you think I'm making these videos because I got to make that YouTube money. Fuck that. Oh my gosh, this is so not worth my time if I'm doing it for that reason. I'm not making much money from this shit compared to, the money I can make in other ways or that I have already. Like, I don't need it. It's like, doesn't matter. I'm doing it for a different reason. Okay, and I'm doing it because it gives me purpose. It fulfills me in life because I want to help other people, because this is my mission, right? Whether even it is reaching other people, I mean, that's great. There's an impact, but I'm still going to pour out my mission regardless if anyone listens or not. I'm still going to do it. It doesn't matter whether we have free will or desire. Like the choices that we make from our logical standpoint should be because they will be the choices that will make us happy overall. So what I'm saying is that you can't just say everything happens for a reason and then just be like, oh, well, fuck it, I'm just going to do whatever then, because those aren't the things that are actually going to fulfill you in life and make you happy, right? You can say that. That can be a perfect justification. You don't have to work, like I said, but you're going to be miserable. We will fuck up, okay? And there's two paths, right? There's a short path and there's a long path. There's a hard path and there's an easy path. Both paths lead to the same place, and sometimes you need to go down one, right? So if you sort of do adopt the attitude of everything happens for a reason, right? Again, not to let that control your actions, but if you really, when I say that, what do I mean by that is that I mean, when I fucked up in the past, it all happened for a reason, okay? That it wasn't pointless, that nothing was pointless, because even though it was a fuck up and there was a better path, by taking that quote wrong path, it was actually the right path because it led me up to this point. So everything happens for a reason. When random shit happens in my life, I assume that it's not a coincidence, that there's some reason behind that. Now, there's a mystical element to that, I do believe. You had to fail. It was preordained to some degree. It was necessary because you lacked the knowledge or the discipline. It could have only gone that way. So it happened for a reason, right? Or you could say because of a reason, okay? And going through that experience, going through that failure, moves you forward. Okay, now some people progress a little slower, some people don't get the lesson right away. Okay, but they have to do it. It's the only path forward. Like these things all have to happen for that reason, right? So I do believe that. There's actually two good books to read that sort of hit on this subject. They're kind of deep books. I don't agree with everything in either of these books, but it's a real interesting thought experiment. The first one is The Seed of the Soul. Again, we'll put links here in the video, in the cards in the description below. And that is a very popular book, but made very popular by Oprah Winfrey, actually. But it's about this idea that one of the core concepts in the book is this idea that you can do no wrong. Right? And what it means by that is that even if you choose an evil path or the path of destruction, like your soul reincarnates. Again, I'm not 100% sure on some of these things. Like not 100% agreement, right? But as your soul reincarnates, it learns those lessons, and sometimes it can learn them the bad way or the good way, right? It'll still learn them, right? You had to do those things. You had to go through those things. All these things had to happen, right? So it's kind of an interesting way of looking at things. And The Impersonal Life by Joseph Brenner, that's a real will throw your mind for a real loop. But it's essentially, in that book, he's talking as if he was God, talking to you who is God, who is a part of God, is a cell of God's body. And he basically says, you're only doing what you're doing because I want you to do it, because I am teaching you, I am expressing my will, my consciousness through you. You're nothing. And I'm only expressing my consciousness through you. And all of the mistakes you make and all the errors and all that, it's all just me doing this, putting you down the path to eventually reveal to you the truth that I need to in order to make you more complicit in executing my will. These are hard pills to swallow, okay? But you need to have this perspective. You need to understand this perspective in order to understand what's happening in life, in order to not blame things, in order to not have the victim mindset. When I say everything happens for a reason, is that I believe that there is some guiding force in this universe to some degree. You could call it God. You could say that we're all God, or God is in us, or however you want to view it. There's a lot of theologies and ways of viewing this thing that is impossible for us to grasp in our minds. Okay, like I said, those two books will give you some interpretations of this. But I believe there is some consciousness. I believe consciousness isn't just a random chance. The idea that everything happens for a reason, there's some guiding force. It's not too far off. If there's one main consciousness that we're drops of it, and we're split apart from that main consciousness, but we all belong to one, then everything is happening not only for a reason, but in coordination, in perfect conjunction. It's pretty interesting to think about. So I don't think there's coincidences in life. That's my firm belief. I've done videos on this in the past talking about why I don't believe in coincidences. Okay, so I'm not going to rehash that there. But, you know, free will is a paradox. Should we just be lazy and not give a fuck and just do whatever the fuck we want because everything happens for a reason? No, because we have the ability to make choices, and those choices affect not just the results, but how we feel about ourselves and our actions. So we have the choice, we have the ability to make choices. It is then our responsibility to make choices. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.